Hello, and welcome to the Streets Will Never Forget podcast with me, Callum, known as Trail. I've got with me Callum, known as Wall, and
Good
Rob,
afternoon.
known as Rob. How are we, boys?
Evening, mate.
Good pal. How are we?
I'm not
Tired,
too bad,
mate.
thank
I
you
won't lie to
very
you.
much.
That's how I am. Tired.
You're
It's
tired.
tiered.
I am, mate.
Bless you, mate.
Tiered level 3.
You're probably just exhausted from that amazing podcast last week about Balotelli.
I was just exhausted from all the argument we've been doing about Luke Shaw.
I'm still fuming, mate.
We're still going on about Luke Shaw. We weren't even talking about Luke Shaw.
May I say that Kieran Tierney got a hat-trick of assists for Scotland?
Yes, who were they playing?
Someone shit, probably, but...
Well, they
What
were.
are we doing? Are we having a debate about Tierney versus Shaw?
No, we'll save that for another episode.
No point, Wall. There's no point, mate. Wall, mate, because we all know Tierney's better.
I've never said Shaw was better. I said Reguilon was better than Tierney, but
Yeah, that was an embarrassment in itself.
Right. So
right, let's move on.
Week,
Come on.
This week, as I'm sure you can all tell by the title of the video, we're doing Adel Taarabt, who, of course, is a Moroccan footballer that probably most famously in this country played for QPR. We're going to start off, as always, with the quiz. Are we both ready?
Bring it on,
matey.
Daddy-o.
Fantastic. So, question 1. For which international team did he play for at under-17 and under-19 level?
Oh, France.
I only know he played for Morocco. And I'm
Well,
guessing
you're not
what
much help
man.
then, are you, Rob, really, mate? Well done, Walsh, France. Question number 2. Has he ever won the Football League Player of the Year?
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, in the Championship.
Yep, 2010, 2011. Well done. Question number 3. How many international goals has he scored?
4.
Hazard a guess and go for...
Go for 4.
I'm going to hazard a guess and go for 12.
Well, it's 4, Rob. So,
I just said go for 4.
Well, I thought surely he's got to have more caps than goals. Like, surely
We'll
he's got
get
to
on to that.
Has he only scored 4 goals? Surely he's got to have a fair few caps under his belt.
I feel like you've not. Have you not researched this? This is basic shit.
Let's move on. Question number 4. In 2012, Arsenal were interested in Adel Taarabt, but he was their second choice. Who was their first?
I dread to think.
God knows who did sign in 2012.
Santa Cazorla? Was that a bit early?
A quick clue. They
Early,
didn't
mate,
sign him.
that is.
What was the clue, sorry?
The clue was that they didn't actually sign this player either.
Ah.
But
I imagine
he's
if it was anyone more than over about £5, they wouldn't have signed him.
David Silva.
David Silva. And your guess, Rob?
2012. Well, no, because he'd have played for Man City I think he signed for Man City in 2010.
Sorry, mate. I don't keep up with the bloody City.
There's logic behind it if you think about it.
Hatem Ben Arfa.
So both of you were wrong. It was Wilfried Zaha.
Oh.
So some things never change.
Oh, fair
8
dues,
years
yeah.
later, they're still trying to get him.
Still after 10 years later.
Yeah. Question number 5, and I want wrong answers only for this one. Finish the quote. To those who... This is an Adel Taarabt quote. To those who question my desire or ability, I say...
Wrong answers, you say?
Yes, mate.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of
Is
funny.
it I say you're right?
What?
He doesn't want to do it anymore. Is that enough?
To those who say I'm shit, you've got it spot on.
Go on, say the quote again and I'll say something afterwards.
The quote is, to those who question my desire or ability, I say...
Nay.
Nay. No, it's not actually nay. He says, watch me. So those avid QPR fans would have been watching him. So not too bad on the quiz there, boys. Did okay considering. A couple of them obviously like the Arsenal one a bit difficult. But we did okay. I hope you definitely know your stuff because we're moving on to game number 2.
Oh, not more games.
I was hoping to be a bit of a dun-dun-dun from one of you.
I mean, I do. Dun-dun-dun.
There we go. Thank you. This game is when we all remember the success of Balotelli versus Bollocks Telly, don't we?
Yes.
So this is QPR or QPR? Are you kidding me?
So we're not going for my
There we go.
suggestion.
I was waiting for the response. So this is just some quick things about QPR, and you've got to tell me whether they are QPR or I'm kidding you. So they're either QPR or I'm kidding you. Number 1, Queen's Park Rangers have moved home ground location 18 times.
You're kidding me, surely.
I'm going to say QPR.
It's QPR. They have moved 18 times.
18 times.
Yeah. QPR were the
Surprising.
first club in Britain to install an AstroTurf pitch.
I'm going to say QPR again.
Yeah, it sounds like something QPR would do, to be honest with you.
It's QPR.
Classic QPR.
Number
It is,
3, known for their AstroTurf. Number 3, in 1898, QPR fielded a 14-year-old boy in their first team, which was illegal at the time, and they therefore kicked out of the FA Cup.
I'm going to say, you're kidding. I'm going to say QPR, you're kidding.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the same. I reckon it was 15 being you messed up.
Cheers, Rob. It is QPR, you kidding me? But it didn't matter if it was 14 or 15, it was still bullshit. Number 4, QPR have reached the FA Cup final.
Surely they have at some point in the time. Surely.
I don't know, mate. I've never heard of like a golden generation. How long's the FA Cup been going?
A long time.
How long's the FA Cup been going, or QPR?
No, FA Cup. Like
1800s,
130 years, isn't it?
I'm going to say QPR.
Yeah, I'll agree. I think I'll go QPR.
It is indeed QPR. And finally, in 1999, Harry Redknapp once said that QPR were a small club for small-minded people.
I really hope he did. I'm going to say QPR. I feel I want it to be true.
I'm going to go for QPR. Kidding me?
It is QP. Are you kidding me?
Oh.
Don't feel like that's something you can live down and then go on and manage.
Well,
remember when you said we were shit?
Jose did it about Spurs.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but it's not really working out for him, is it, Wall?
I didn't work out for Harry Redknapp either.
Carabao Cup final, Spurs can do it. End the drought. So, moving on, who'd like to go first and have a little chat about what they think of Adel Taarabt?
A chat about Adel Taarabt.
Go on, who's going first?
Go on, Rob. I think you should open proceedings tonight.
Well, Adel Taarabt, he's a bit of a... I don't know, he seemed to disappear off the face of the earth, didn't he, for a while? I know he's obviously reinvented himself now at Benfica. Seems to be playing some of the best football of his career. But obviously, in terms of sort of this podcast, I suppose it's going to be that sort of one season in 2010 to 2011, which we go into a lot of depth about. I think obviously during that period he was a wizard, wasn't he? A magician, everything. Considering what the Championship had at the time, he was a level above everyone else, wasn't he? He was he'd waltz around the Championship and he made it look easy. He would literally tear teams apart on his own. What did he get? 19 goals, I think, during that season from the number 10 position, and 16 assists in 44 league games. So I think in terms of that season, he was... When people think of Adel Taarabt, they think of that season and they think of that sort of iconic season simply because of the skill he had, the way, the rollovers, the nutmegs, the way he beat 3 or 4 men on his own. Like I said, he was a magician. He was arguably one of the best players the Championship's seen in the past sort of 15, 20 years. He was that good. I know QPR fans would sing Taarabt's too good for you, and the reality of that was simply because he was too good for the opposition. He was simply a level above the Championship.
What about you, Wall?
Yeah, definitely. I think, as Rob says, we know the main focus is probably that one season where he scored all those goals, took the Championship by storm. As he said, yeah, 100%. He was far too good for that league. But then he makes the move up to the Premiership and it looks almost a step too far for him. Whether that's any issues he's had with his attitude or his desire or in terms of quality, you can't deny the skills, the trickery, the style and flair he brought to the game when he played. Some of the goals he scored as well, fantastic. Outside the box, curlers into the top corner, takes a player on, megs his I'd love to see a stat of how many play he's actually nutmegged in his career.
Yeah.
I definitely think in terms of talking about players who've done it. Like if there was such a statistic and someone actually made note of it, he'd definitely be up there.
Well, there was that one not long ago from UEFA, wasn't there, for Benfica, when it said, I think the slogan was something like, the headline was something like, if you're wondering what Adel Taarabt's doing now, he's still nutmegging defenders, and he literally just grabs the ball and pops it through and goes by them like they're not there.
Yeah, an absolute lovely pair of feet. I was watching some videos of him, and
Pair of
he
size
just
nines.
I love pair of size nines. It just looked like he could get out of anything. Like wherever he was, he'll get out of it. Like I watch some teams play now, and a bit of panicking at the back, or during corners it gets stuck under their feet and they can't just seem to get it out. I feel like the ball's like glued to his feet at times. Apart from when he's megsing people, do you know what I mean? Lovely pair of feet on him.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I guess the big question we're gonna ask today is why did he go? Why at QPR was he amazing, and then why has he not been able to keep up that form since?
I think obviously his first big season at QPR, so he was in the Championship. As we've already said, won Player of the Year, Team of the Year, got promoted. Talisman of the team, essentially, won the league himself at times. But then, he moves up to the Premiership. Fantastic. Straight away, he loses captaincy.
Yeah.
Gives it away, like they say, sign Joe Barton, give him the captaincy. Straight away, that's going to piss you off.
Especially when it's Joey Barton.
Especially when it's Joey Barton, who, and if we're talking about attitude and discipline,
that's bad to say the same.
He is the worst player to give it to.
Yeah.
So, and then from what I was reading as well, there's a couple of instances of poor performances, and straight away, again, hauled off at half time, not being given an opportunity really to sort of help the team out and, come out for a better second half. You can't go from a player who's ripped the league apart, best player in the league, destroyed teams, won games on his own, and then he's not been able to have the opportunity to perform, for a newly promoted side. They're never going to win every game. They're never going to play well every week.
Yeah.
I think possibly
Sorry, go on.
Well, I was just going to say he was possibly maybe a scapegoat.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of, as it happens with any teams that have a big player, there's pressure, isn't there, come with that, and there's an expectation that when the team don't perform, it's because you don't do what you do every week. When in reality, there's much more. People at fault a lot bigger than him.
I look at Pereira, mate, for West Brom in terms of what you've just said. Last year he was again another player who took the Championship by storm, and then this year the added pressure that comes with that step up. It isn't easy, and he's another one who struggled in what's been a pretty poor West Brom showing this season. But I think it's with Taarabt, he's sort of. I think it's difficult because when you were talking earlier, Trail, about him, the ball being glued to his feet and the way he go by defenders, I think that's sort of what made him unique. The fact that how many times now do we don't see that anymore. I can't remember the last time I saw a nutmeg. I can't remember the last time I have seen a player go by 3 or 4 players with nothing but pure skill. And I think in terms of what he did in the Championship, he was sort of, it's almost, you don't see that anymore. And he dominated that league like no one else has in the past 20 years. But I think in terms of the step up, we saw, didn't we, that Harry Redknapp said he in particular criticised him for being overweight and criticised his training and things like that. And I know Taarabt said he was a player who wasn't that kind of player to put in tackles. And I think, well, you've got a couple of things when coming up to the Premier League. You've got the fact that Premier League teams are going to be well aware of his ability. They're going to have seen what he's done in the Championship. They're going to have seen the way he's gone by defenders, the goals he scored, and it's a level above. They're going to be well aware of that, and it's not going to be as easy. And then you've also got the fact that in the Premier League, when you're a newly promoted side, you don't have the quality to afford to carry players. So you've literally got to have everyone putting in a hard graft, putting in a shift. And if he wasn't going to do that, you're essentially playing with 10 men. And for that QPR side at that time, they couldn't afford to do that. So the simple facts is that A, I think Premier League defenders would have been well aware of him and know how to stop him, and B, QPR were sort of, well, what did they get relegated that season? No, they stayed up, didn't they, on the final day and then got relegated the next. But they were always going to be battling relegation, so he was never going to have the influence he had in a team what dominated the Championship the season before.
Yeah. I just want to go back to something, if that's all right, both of you. I'm just wanting to do some role play, if that's okay. We're both up to that.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
role
I mean, yeah, I could be a nurse.
You are.
Sound good?
You're
I'd
a
like
bit
to
of role
make a
play, Rob.
complaint, please.
Nothing like that. I
Is
just
it a
want your
sort
take.
of Faulty Towers character you're looking for?
No, I just want to get your take on how that conversation might have gone of being told, Adel Taarabt being told that Joe Barton was getting the captaincy off him due to attitude problems.
Was it who
And
was
I'm
it who told him?
how
Was it who took over at that time? Wasn't it Mark Hughes?
Yeah, yes, I think it was.
I want to be Harry Redknapp, I won't lie. But then
Well, we can
that's
pretend
too
it was Harry
early.
Redknapp if you want. We can pretend it was Harry Redknapp that did it.
I feel like we do need accuracy in this role, in this performance.
Just bringing it in. Okay, well, okay. If you want, do you want to be Mark Hughes, Rob?
Can be, mate, if you want me to be. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
And do you want to be
I'm
Barton?
hoping sort of Wars A-level drama is going to come to the fore here.
Yes,
do you want to be Barton or Taarabt?
I'll take Joe Barton. I feel like that's the safest option.
Okay. Let's go. So I'll be Adel Taarabt. And this is how, given his attitude problems and things like that, this is how I think he might have responded. Do you want to go as Mark Hughes, Rob, and give me the news?
Welsh accent, please.
Okay, Adele. Sadly, your
All right,
attitude and training and in games isn't where I need it to be. I'm looking for a real disciplinarian, someone who committed to the cause, never gets sent off, never gets in any trouble, real clean Premier League record. So I'm going to give the captaincy to Joey Barton.
All right, lad.
Are you fucking blind, old man? Are you taking the fucking piss? Joey Nutter Barton.
Don't speak to Mark like that.
Joey Madhead Barton. Joey been sacked for every job he's ever had. Barton.
I will nut you, pal.
Has he ever been banned, Adele?
I tell you what, mate, I'm fuming. You know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to do loads of silky skills and meg players, but I'm not going to give a shit and hope you get fucking relegated next season.
And true to life.
I think that was pretty accurate. I think that's exactly how it went down.
That was a good performance.
That was good. I like how you thickened up your voice for Joe Barton Wall. Has made him sound very like.
It was a shame though he was from the East End and not from Liverpool.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's from. I could have done his fake French accent.
That's what I was hoping for. Yeah, I think you can do that. Right. So
yes,
moving on. Let's not quit our day jobs and become actors. Just moving on to one final point, if that's okay, before we make our decisions. I wondered before when I looked at his career, and I wondered if maybe he never got a manager who did things right for him, and maybe was the right manager for him. As we've said with a lot of players that are a bit more misbehaving and things like that. And I found a quote from Taarabt, and I'll just read out what it says. So in January 2011, Taarabt was interviewed the Evening Standard, in which he said, "The man who took me to Tottenham was Damien Comolli. He was at Arsenal then, but when I was going to go to Arsenal, he moved to Tottenham. He told me, 'Come to Tottenham. We want to do like they do at Arsenal and take the best young players in the world. You're going to have a better chance there.' I believed him. This was a mistake and I regret it. Tottenham tried to do it like Arsenal, but I would have had a better chance at Arsenal. I would progress with Arsene Wenger. He is a legend in France, one of the best managers in the world."
Why not go there then?
Well, I assume this Damien Comolli persuaded him not to.
Well,
go to Tottenham
yeah.
instead. So I'm just wondering, maybe was it not the right place and was he not comfortable? Because you look at teams he played for. QPR's the only team he's played any sort of significant amount of games for. The rest, he's struggling to find about 50 appearances for them. So maybe when he was at QPR,
Tottenham they at that time, I know Martin Jol, didn't he, at the time said essentially that Taarabt was a wizard and he could have been like David Ginola. And then obviously he lost his job and Juan de Ramos came in didn't fancy
Monday
him,
Ramos.
and then obviously Harry Redknapp came in, didn't fancy him. So I think at that point, when at the time we think about Juan de Ramos and Harry Redknapp, Tottenham, as far as I remember, we're in a bad place under Juan de Ramos, and then Harry Redknapp came in and was sort of, I think they were like towards the bottom of the table,
Yeah.
at that time in a relegation scrap. So he was never going to give a young player a chance, was he? Because it was never the time to play a young player.
We said
Certainly not someone who wasn't willing to
he
put
said
the
they
hard
didn't
yards
fancy
in.
him. He said they didn't fancy him. They didn't have to fucking shag him to play him, did they?
Yeah, but I think that sort of Harry Redknapp didn't fancy him at either there or QPR, did he? So I think the manager's key, aren't they? If you don't have a manager who believes in you and who sort of stimulates you professionally, then you never reach your goals. Because I've read something about him where he credits Genoa and their manager as one of the most important figures in turning his career around. Because obviously his career at that time was going nowhere. He was gaining weight. Whereas he was a sort of figure who was fair, but was able to get him involved, get him in games. And I think one thing you have to give Taarabt credit for is his rejuvenation, because he's spent sort of 3 or 4 years in playing for Benfica and not getting a game and playing in Portugal's reserves, and then all of a sudden he's hit the spotlight again because he's now playing his sort of his best football. And we've got Jan Vertonghen, who said he's the engine of our team. So we've gone from a player who's literally not performed and who's been accused of not putting in the hard yards to now being a deep lying playmaker who's the engine of Benfica's team.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? How he's gone from what he was, like an inside forward to like a number 10, and now he's almost playing like a box to box midfielder or like a defensive midfielder. But the way he plays, he still plays exactly the same. Smart touches. Sorry, John.
Do you think? I was just gonna say, do you think if he were to come back now, do you think he'd do better in the Prem than he did?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think, especially if he's playing in this different role, I think he'd suit a team. I think he'd suit a couple of Premiership teams now. Drive forward with the ball, exactly what you want from a.
Maybe Wolves.
Oh well, yeah, I could see him thriving at Wolves. You've got the likes of Neves and Moutinho in midfield with you.
Not getting any younger, is he? To be fair, so.
Well, exactly. But I definitely think he'd suit a team. Have a where you've got your holding midfielder, your Scott Parker, if you will, and then
I could always drop Nuno Gomez a message, an email, and just say we've got a great idea for a player to sign for you.
Well, I mean, he's 31. He's all right. He's getting he's getting older a little bit, but I think he could play that role for a few more years, and I think he could do it at a high level.
Let's move on to our decision. So, for those of you that haven't listened before, our ranking system works as a 1 to 5 ranking based on how we think the street should remember him, or if they should. So, rank number 1 is the street should never forget. Rank number 2, the street should remember him. Rank number 3, the streets can do what they like. Rank number 4, the streets should probably forget. And rank number 5, the streets should definitely forget. And I would like to go first to Wall.
And I was looking for some inspiration, to be honest. I think it is a tough one because, again, when you think of the streets, and the players the streets won't forget, I think Adel Taarabt is a personification of that. The skills, the trickery, the flair. These are the sort of players that you look back on in the future. For one season, but you look back and think, wow, that player entertained. He got bums off seats. He was just one of those that people.
For one season.
Yes. Let me continue. I've lost train of thought now. You're not bad.
Sorry.
He's the sort of player that play. But to be fair, you say for one season, he still had the tricks and the skills in his locker. He just didn't score. He just didn't put in consistent performances.
And you can say it that well as that Wall, for your argument, is that think of how many players QPR signed that season, how bad a team they were.
Well, exactly. I mean, if he was playing in a stronger side, if he was playing in the Spurs side in those seasons, maybe he might have had a bit more luck. QPR were throwing money at all sorts of players, and they were just throwing money and seeing what stuck, and nothing did because they just did not work together. I think you
so
can't.
What ranking? Where are you putting him?
You are eager.
I just don't know who you're going to put him.
Give me a second. All right, I'm going to stick him in rank 3.
Okay.
I'm going to stick him in the streets can do what they like. Again, this is the third player I've put in this rank.
That's fair enough. Rob, where you going, mate? Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine, mate. It's fine, mate. My argument's done. Rank 3.
For me, mate, I'm going to stick him in number 1.
Number
yes,
1?
Mate. Number 1.
Same as Scott Parker. This is a joke. You're joking.
I think that in terms of what the streets, streets never forget footballers about forgotten footballers who were magical or who had moments of magic. And I was reading an article earlier which said he was the ultimate the streets won't forget footballer. And I think that sums up when people, if you were to type in on YouTube or Google, the streets will never forget footballers, the first player they will bring up is Adel Taarabt. The first player on the sort of the image of a video that will bring up will be Adel Taarabt, simply because he is the epitome of that. He for that season was unplayable for one season. That season alone, though, he was unplayable. He was the skills he'd used. I've not seen many. Obviously, I know you've got Messi with his dribbling, but in terms of sort of over in England, I haven't seen players with that sort of skill again. He was a level above. He was a magician. He was a wizard. He took QPR to promotion for the first time in 2 decades. He was handed the captaincy at 21, and for QPR,
lost it.
He was a cool hero. And
lost it to Joey Barton with disciplinary issues.
And like I said earlier, QPR fans would sing "Taarabt's too good for you," and that sort of sums it up. He was too good for the Championship, and he waltzed through it, and he made it look easy, which for him it was. So for me, his skills, his strength, his quickness, his finishing, what he did in that 2010-2011 season will always define him for me as a number 1. A number 1 tier player in the streets we'll never forget.
Fair enough.
Can I just note that you did not interrupt Rob to finish once there?
Yes, I did. I said for one season.
It's probably so.
No, I mean for
one season.
To push him to finish.
I did want to know what Rob said first. For my opinion, I think he's well overrated. I couldn't believe it when I looked at his stats. I'm torn between 2 options. But I think I'm going to put him in rank 3. The streets can do what they like. I'm just looking at his basic stats now. He only had 9 appearances at Tottenham in 4 years. Went on to QPR, did great. Then went to Fulham, 12 appearances in a couple of years, no goals. Just it's all very well and good having the skill and stuff like that. And yes, he had a great season. But lots of players have one really great season.
Yeah, but that's
mean
what
we think we should remember them forever.
You look at players like Michu. Their players streets don't forget because they have essentially been one season wonders.
The thing is the way that we're meant to take the attitude we're meant to take towards this is do we think they are as good as they are remembered to be? Do we think that they actually should not be forgotten? And I think Adel Taarabt hasn't done enough to actually be remembered for anything other than one season.
I mean, I think he should definitely be remembered. Just say the skills and the flair and.
Get him up in rankings, then we'll get him up.
You said streets can do what they like.
No, I've put him in 3 because like you say, yeah, the one season he's had that it was inconsistent at times, but I definitely think he should be remembered.
Will you put him in rank 2 then, wouldn't you? Which is the streets should remember him.
Well, I suppose I could stick him in 2.
Here we are, all swaying now.
Changing opinion.
Maybe I'm just.
He's been broken. Maybe I
was just being a bit too harsh in my opinion.
Let's be honest, Wall.
But I think
when we compare him to who else is in rank 3, who are you going to remember more? Nico Crenshaw
Mario
or Adel
Balotelli's in there.
Yeah, Balotelli's in there. You telling me you're not remember Balotelli?
Yeah,
I'm not going to change.
There are so many magical moments in Taarabt's career.
There weren't Balotelli's.
Don't get me wrong, Balotelli's won far more, and obviously you'd rather have the career he's had. But in terms of what we're thinking about here, who will I remember more? Well, I think of our generation, people will forever look at the things Taarabt did and think, "Wow." Whereas I don't think you get that with Balotelli.
Well,
debate.
I'm talking bollocks, Telly.
You said rank 3 then, Wall.
I'll
you
stick with.
sticking with three?
I'll stick with three. I've already said it. I'll stick with three.
You made some good points, Rob. I accept that. I understand why you've put him in there. You said rank 1. War said rank 3. I've said rank 3. So that does mean, unfortunately, he does go into rank 3.
That does mean, unfortunately, it goes into rank 1.
No, he doesn't actually.
I just can't believe he's put him in the same category as Scott Parker. That's just shocked me.
When Scott,
it's same as I've said though, Wall. I don't think you've seen skill like that since. I don't think you can. I don't think you could show me a player who's done the same things Adel Taarabt did in that 2010-2011 season since, because I don't think any player has.
Well, like I say, I'm sure we could argue all night because we've had some very different opinions here. But thank you very much for joining me, both of you. It's been another great one. Next week, I'm sure we'll have an even better one. This is episode 5. There's only 3 more episodes after this until the end of the first series. So thank you very much for everyone who does listen, everyone that subscribes, everyone that retweets, likes our tweets, stuff like that. Fantastic. And thank you very much for joining us. Thanks, boys.
Cheers. Thank you very much, guys.